and welcome to this episode of the DC Life podcast. Today, we're going to chat with someone about something in the life of our church.
Well, hello, and welcome back to...
I nearly clapped to start the podcast, everyone. I nearly went like that but to start the podcast, and Sly started before we did.
You lost me.
It's a good start.
Good start. Smooth start.
Smooth. Let's keep that in.
Okay. Well, I was going to sing It's Christmas Time, but it might be better for you to sing that because I don't think people like hearing me sing in general.
I'm not singing It's Christmas Time, but it is Christmas
time. But it is Christmas time, so we're not going to sing about it. We're just going to chat about it here on the DC Life podcast. So if you're a listener, welcome back. We're glad to have you with us as we have a chat. So Christmas, Christians, it sounds like there should be something special for this, for us in this time of year, Callum.
It is, yes. Yeah. Of course, Christmas is special for Christians because of Christ and Him coming. I think Christmas is changing, in culturally.
Totally, yeah.
Because Christmas used to have a lot of that tradition wrapped around it.
Yeah.
And sure, people are okay to do tradition stuff, and we still turn up to carol events and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the world's got darker, I think, in many ways. Things are much more complicated than they used to be, complex.
Yeah.
There's so much anxiety about what the future holds, and not even what the future holds, but just like right now, how do I sort of get through this? Everything seems, I don't know, dark and thick and heavy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like Christmas has changed. Would you agree? It's changed a
totally.
little bit through COVID and all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think that there's been a huge amount of shift. And even like before that, little subtle things. Like I remember like seeing, a lot of advertising shift from Merry Christmas, which puts Christ in it, to Season's Greetings.
Yeah.
Which, there is no season without Jesus. There's no reason to, have this celebration. But yet our culture...
It's like that politically correct.
Yeah. And that's a part of that darkness. It's moving away from Jesus, who is glorious, radiant light, right? And,
absolutely.
And all of a sudden he's kind of being veiled. The real meaning, the real truth of Christmas is getting covered up. The reason why we should celebrate and shifting away from that, because the world around us that doesn't want Jesus and doesn't want Christianity and doesn't want the gospel and all the hope that comes with that still wants this celebration. They want everything else that,
Absolutely. It's, I think it was Mark Sayers who says it's the king without the kingdom.
Yeah.
The kingdom without the king. I've got to get that the right way around. They want things
better.
to be going well.
Yeah.
But they don't want to have a king to worship and to bow down to. And not just bow down to, but even just relationally, it's like I'll have what Christ can give me, what God can give me, which is a feeling of peace and hope and all that kind of stuff. But I am just going to keep that distance. Which is tricky, I think, at Christmas time, because I think Christmas time reminds us of, I think, even just from a purely secular perspective, I think Christmas is about love. Like, that's what everyone is kind of saying, isn't it? It's everyone loves the idea of love, but what you're missing, if you know love without Christ, you don't know this beautiful, Christ said that the greatest love that anyone can ever show anyone, this is from the book of John, is that he would lay down his life for another. And so I think it's interesting at Christmas time to watch our culture and, even being immersed in our culture that wants the love, wants the kingdom, wants the things to, everyone to get along, and the peace when there's war, and the joy when there's sadness, and the... And yet, if you don't really know what love truly is in Christ Jesus, then I think you're missing out on a big part of that.
It's almost like people think that they've got it in the love that they understand, but really they've got a small percentage of the fuller reality.
That's right. And people know what love is. I'm not saying this to rag on people not knowing what love is.
But they don't know the fullest.
There's a greater love.
Yeah.
There's a more full love. And that love, when we are talking about darkness in particular, the light and darkness together in Scripture describes sort of the opposite end of good and evil. And we see that, all through Scripture. But in particular, when we hit John 1, and it talks about the incarnation, which is what Christmas is all about, when it says, the true light, this is John 1:9, the true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and yet the world did not know him. It's what we were just talking about, that idea of knowing love, but not knowing love, not knowing who Christ is. And he came to his own, and to his own people, but they did not receive him, which is everything we just spoke about. But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become the children of God. So that's the beautiful message of Christmas, isn't it? That we're not just called into the light from darkness, but we're called into relationship with a God who has pursued us and is like, hey, I'm your heavenly Father, and I want to come and be with you, so much so that I will, put my glory aside so that I can become a baby, you know, which is, So I'm getting ranty, sorry.
No, it's good.
Because I love it. It's the message of Christmas is so...
I love it too.
So central to hope, I think, for us.
And there's so much tied into that, isn't it? It's... it's humility that God displays. It's, his glory contained in a human. The incarnation is just such a magnificent doctrine to dig into and study, idea and concept at that level, but is so personal because it's God wanting to be with us. And even you talk about the light and darkness stuff, that, we're all in darkness without Jesus, and yet when we know him, he comes and the light lives in us.
That's right.
It's just magnificent.
It's so right. And I think, I'm sorry to quote Mark Sayers twice already in the 5 minutes we've been talking, but he's written this book recently called A Non-Anxious Presence. And in it, he talks about the world has always been dark. It's just that now we're more aware of it because, this evil, the darkness of whatever, wars and whatever we're going, and I'm talking global scale, but even personally, the anxiety and depression and all of that plagues our lives is now just at the forefront. It's like what COVID did and what all of this, the internet did and all that kind of stuff is, like you said, it's pulled back a veil on the darkness that's actually there. And I really like, if I can touch on as well what you said about the personal hope thing, because I think that Christmas means not just hope for the world, because Christ came to save the world, despite all of its unending problems that we have, because we're talking about problems here, but also it's actually that personal hope for you and me, despite all of our unending failings. So, I think it's not just about, Christmas isn't just about a birth. It's about a coming. It's about a coming near. It's beautiful.
And a coming king.
A coming king. Absolutely.
So good. So good. Now, I know you've kind of hinted on it a couple of times, but the hope of Christmas is kind of our theme this year.
Absolutely.
Before we get into some practicals about that, I guess we've covered a chunk of it already, but any more that we can add in kind of fleshing out that theme with a biblical platform and understanding?
So I'm working on both on the Springfield carols that are happening and our Christmas Eve service as well. And I just this year, with everything happening and the way the world is changing so much, as I spent more time in the Word and looking at this light and the darkness in John 1, I thought, you know what? Let's just go with that idea. And so for our Christmas Eve service, if you are coming along or if you're inviting people to our Christmas Eve service, we are looking at the hope of Christ. And it's actually kind of a little series we've been doing over Christmas. We've looked at the truth of Christ. We've looked at the crown of Christ. And what we do is we kind of put the mass on the end. So we go the hope of Christmas, looking at Christ as well.
It's Jesus-centric.
It's Jesus-centric, not as well. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm pumped about that. The sort of idea of a new dawn, I think, is that hope rising when everything is at its most dark. And really, when you read John 1, it's so beautiful. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and then the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and hope had arrived. And so I think that's what we're going to be looking at for our Christmas Eve service. We always put a lot of effort into just making that night as I guess in some ways as big as possible, because we really want to emphasize, particularly to people who don't know the Lord, we want to emphasize just how great the incarnation of Jesus is. So if you're thinking of inviting friends, bring them along. The Hope of Christmas. We do a Christmas Eve service, and it's usually packed, isn't it?
Oh yeah. It often we generally have to get out more chairs.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
that's
we
a
fill
good
out the
thing,
auditorium.
good
And
problem
that's
to have.
awesome. And just to build on your inviting friend thing, invite not yet believing friends. Which is really cool. Like so many people, I know we kind of probably say this every year coming into this time, but so many people are more likely to take up the invitation to come along to church at Christmas or at Easter. And it's a great opportunity. We really do a big thing, and we often get such positive feedback from the not yet believers that come along.
They're looking for that hope. They're looking for that light in the darkness. And if I can just turn up to the I'll just give this 5 minutes of my attention, and so how great we have the opportunity to share the gospel there.
And if you've got that message and you've got that time, you're reflecting on that theme, that gives you a chance to unpack and share with them later on as you're journeying through. Remember when we were talking about the hope of Christmas, what is your hope in? Starting those, gospel conversations in that kind of way. Good platform.
Yeah, it's good.
So that's on Christmas Eve.
That's our DC. That's Disciples Church Springfield Christmas Eve service. Yep.
Now, you're also doing a lot of work on something else Christmassy coming up, the Rebel Carols from the combined Christian churches. Tell us a little bit about that.
Look, I'm super pumped about this particular event. I worked professionally in large arena events for a decade, and I've never had the chance to come and do the carols and be involved because there's always stuff on
something else
from that career. So God has been so gracious to free that time up for me this year.
Yes.
And so it's really cool to be able to get into that. And the theme there is a night of light. And we're carrying through that sort of similar sort of John theme. If you come to both, you'll get completely different nights. Like they're totally different. But the night of light concept, again, is that, light has entered our world already. If you need hope, you don't need to look any further than Jesus Christ. And he's not far away. He came as a baby and then revealed himself to us through the word. And that's how we know who he is and what he's done for us.
Fantastic.
And so, we're excited to share the gospel to more of the wider community there, because we're out at the Rebel Parklands. We've got a stack of really super gifted Christian singers to come along and do that, which is great. I think it's just a great opportunity to connect with our community and say, hey, there is hope. There is light in the darkness. And also, we love you. Like, we're all doing this because we love our community, and we're serving them. So,
And there's a lot of secular places that put on carols in that kind of in a sense, in a similar way, but for the churches of Greater Springfield to be able to do that together, and it's really amazing, isn't it? So for people who haven't been before, and I said a bunch of artists, what do you kind of expect? Like, what happens when you rock up at the park? Is
Well, we do a mix of secular and Christian songs. I almost said worship songs, because in many ways, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, Noel, Joy to the World. There's some beautiful...
So many of those Christmas carols really are rooted in that, aren't they?
Worship. It's worship, So we definitely do those, but we also want to not alienate, the community and kind of say, hey, we understand what you celebrate, and we know that you look to this for light, and we want to say yes, but also look like there's more. Like, the light you have is, as we said before, not the full story. We do some secular stuff. We've got the girl who played Anna in Frozen coming.
That's cool.
Cool. See that pun there? Frozen. You didn't even mean to.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan Rule will be so ashamed of me.
Her name's Courtney Monsma, and she has a sister. A real life sister, not the sister from the show. She has a sister called Emily, and they're both going to come out and sing a beautiful Frozen section for the show, which will just be stunning. And they're amazing people too. I've worked with them before. And
right.
we're having them. We're having a few others come along as well.
Yeah.
I kind of don't want to tell you because I want to keep it a surprise.
So let's just say Callum's connections in the theatre were coming home to roost for the Churches of Springfield. But it is. It's fantastic, isn't it? It's so good.
It's going to be good fun. And I think it's not just fun, but it's an incredible, as we've said, an incredible opportunity to say, hey, look, he is the light for us when all other lights go out, I think. So, which is good.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah.
I think there's also something really beautiful in the churches working together. Often, churches of different denominations, different theological persuasions, whatever it is, can kind of, stay on their own and divide party lines and just be, where they are and not work in a unified way. But this is a really good opportunity that the churches of Springfield actually show to one another and to the community, like, yes, we're different in a bunch of ways, but for the real crux of what we're about, for Jesus, we will get on board with one another. We will work together and we will seek to love and serve both other believers and the community. And we really want to see that, reflected. I know that happens in lots of little ways as you're working with the team.
It does. And everyone on the team gets along beautifully and is there for that. It actually reminds me of Revelation when all of the tribes and nations of every tongue will gather around the foot. This is Revelation 21 and we'll gather around the foot of the throne to worship Jesus. And I think there's just something beautiful about being, hey, do you love Jesus? Do you love Jesus? Yeah, let's do this together and tell other people about Jesus because, man, he is so worthy of worship. Which is good.
That's good.
So, it's
great.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
If you're excited about Christmas, awesome. Yeah. You should be. It's a
Some
great...
people may already have their trees up.
Yeah. Okay, quickly, before we finish up, what's your Christmas tradition? Does the tree go up, when does it happen?
It happens in our house after December has started.
Yeah.
And look, I think in a lot of ways Beck would have liked to do it earlier.
Like July? We're talking like up in July?
Well, because Caleb's birthday is 29th of November. It kind of feels like we need to get past his birthday before we put up Christmas stuff. And that's special. But she's very happy to have kids that are so excited about Christmas because I was a bit of a Scrooge when we first got married. And our first year, not long married, she asked about a Christmas tree. And I was like, why? What a waste of money. Put some tinsel on this ornament in it. No. Yeah. I was very, but she softened me up over the years, and with children around, I think that's one of the other wonderful things about the service, about whether it's Rebel, whether it's here on Christmas Eve, we get to you get kids involved and included, and they get to be part of the celebration and the excitement, and they just love it. Like, it's so good to be able to do that and keep pointing them to Jesus. And I know you kind of hinted at it before, but a big part of why we do what we do at Rebel is because of a gospel intentionality, right? We want an opportunity to share who Jesus is, and somebody will do that really clearly on the evening. But also, if you're a family at home with your Christmas traditions, you want to point your kids towards Jesus. Make sure that that's central in your day and doesn't get overshadowed by gifts or by food or by family and all those other wonderful things that we get the opportunity to do.
Enjoy those.
Yes.
But let them point to Christ.
Yeah, that's good.
Totally. It's good. Yeah, totally. It's so good.
So your turn. Christmas tradition in the Mansfield.
Christmas tradition, we're the same. We have a son born on the 1st of December, so we wait until the 2nd, and it nearly kills everyone. So no, it's good though. It's really good.
Yeah, that's great.
It's good. Before we finish up, I've just got a little quote here from a great theologian that I think it's important to remember about Christmas and the meaning of Christmas. He says that Christmas means that through the grace of God and the incarnation, peace with God is available. And if you make peace with God, then you can go out and make peace with everybody else. And that's the hope, I guess. And the more people who embrace the gospel and do that, the better off the world is. Christmas, I think, therefore means an increase of peace, an increase of hope between God and people, and then across the face of the earth as well, I think. So anyway, I thought that was encouraging.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. Thank you for spending some time
Thanks
on the podcast, sharing a little bit about Christmas coming on. Do we do details for the carols?
Yeah, jump on our, we have a DC app that you can do, so jump on that and you'll find out. As for the Springfield carols, that's on the 10th of December.
Right.
So chuck it in your diary.
Yeah, and if you want a good seat, get there early, right? Because a lot of people will pack it out.
People turn up at like 11 a.m. and it's like, there's 8 hours till we start. Go home.
So if you want to sit get there early, maybe reserve a space for somebody else, but I hope to see you there. And again, great opportunity to invite not yet believers along.
Absolutely.
Because, and that may even be a transition step before that. And you get them to come along to carols, maybe they'll come to the Christmas Eve service as well. So be prayerful consideration about that and looking for opportunities to share the good news of Jesus, his incarnation, light coming into darkness over this Christmas season.
Let's see you guys. See you there.
If you'd like more information about what's going on at Disciples Church, check out our website or email us at podcast@disciples.org.au if you have any questions or feedback. Thanks for listening in. We'll catch you next time.